there's one slight change. This current set doesn't go out of their houses very much, or if they do, they aren't interested in what we are doing, because that kind of turnout has fallen off, except for one event, the Alvin Ailey Gala. Members of Congress fight to come to it. They love to come because it's a rare night of fun for them. Large number of Black Caucus members, obviously, but not entirely. And John Dingell used to come when he could still go out. And that set of attendees today, sort of old school Washington to the extent it still exists, and a young and up and coming set of people in this city who one day will run this city. You know, this city, as you well know, because your magazine was the first people that wrote about it, marches in large part to the tune of whoever the current administration is. They drive what you wear. You know, everybody, once they see what a first lady's going to wear if she's coming to an event, they get up there or down there, whichever it is. This administration, and I'm a yellow dog Democrat, so take this with that in mind, did a couple of things. They put in their ethics rule thinking that that was the way to get at the lobbying issue, that no one in their administration could accept an invitation from a corporation. The Congress then followed suit and put it in their ethics rules. So that has changed the kind of events that everyone can do. They also don't go, they've started now, I think, but in the first 4 years, they didn't accept an invitation at a very small dinner party of like 12 people. And I kept trying to tell them, I knew someone there who shall remain unnamed because long before she came with this administration, I used to have Thanksgiving dinner with her. And so I knew her. And I picked up the phone one day and called her. And I said, can I give you a piece of advice? If you all will go to these things, you're going to find there's always going to be a couple of media at the table. They aren't interested in writing, that's private. They know that. What goes on at a private dinner party is off the record. You're not going to get in trouble that way. But they're going to find out that you all are nice people. And when push comes to shove, it's going to give you a slight edge in how they cover it. And they've paid the price big time for not doing it. And it's limited corporate, it's hurt every nonprofit in this town, because corporations don't take tables like they used to, because they haven't cottoned on to the fact. What's odd in those ethics rules is it says right in there, you can't accept the invitation of a corporation, but you can accept the invitation of the nonprofit. And the nonprofit can take an ask from a corporation attending the event for one of you to be invited. Well, what kind of rule is that? You can't, but you can? Yeah, well, I mean, so I think you see fewer smaller dinners. The wonder of those was you could have a member or two of Congress, you could have somebody from the administration, you could have a couple of your friends, you could have a journalist, and you went away having had a really not light-handed conversation about what was going on, not only in the country, but in the world. And that is the business of this town. The people I know who now become friends over the years from doing events, and they really lament those days. I mean, that it's a loss for them in terms of learning more about the culture in which we live, and particularly with what's going on overseas now.
I remember with Dossier running into the Saudi ambassador at the time about a dozen times, and it's a miracle how all of those barriers go away when you know somebody.
Well, my point exactly, which is what I was trying to say to the person at the White House. You will find, interestingly enough, might seem to you like a waste of your time or not even, trust me, it will help you. You know, we've done quite a number of private parties where there are more than one president involved. Hosts often that we worked with and clients that we worked with didn't really want anyone to know that someone had done their event. Right. They shall remain unnamed, but they wanted everybody to think, oh, well, I thought up the guest list. Mm-hmm. I sent out the invitations. I took the responses, because in those days there was no email, so, you know, you didn't know who was taking them. some of our corporate clients felt the same way, even though, common sense would tell you, well, hello.
Yeah.
I mean, the chairman and CEO of General Motors did not send me my invitation, nor did he order my drink. We have a mantra in our office, which is, and I sort of tell them this when I interview newcomers and we decide to hire them, and said, you're lucky in two ways in terms of salary, since we don't pay for overtime, which we never have, and which is a hard road to go in the event business. But I said, we have two things that will help you out. You can wear whatever you want to work, and most of them today wear their running clothes. And you don't need, really, to own a splashy anything, suit, long dress, short dress, whatever, because you're going to be wearing black at every event we go to. So they laughed when they asked me what I was going to wear tonight, and I said, well, what do you think? Here I am. Something as mundane as, which we're in the process of now for a big event in February, I'm sitting there day after day, morning after morning, night after morning, proofing, which they think is ridiculous, a save the date mailing and making corrections on it so they can correct it before they print it. And I've said to them, people don't take your invitation or your reminder of a date seriously if you don't spell their name right. Or if you didn't know you had them working at Connor Construction, and they were now at the National Association of Broadcasters. And interestingly enough, I must have found in a list of this is about 1,600 that I'm doing right now, I probably found 500 people who not only were no longer in the position we had them in, but they hadn't been since 2011. So we'd sort of let that slide, and our client hadn't caught it and corrected it. And I just think that, and so they see that when somebody gets an invitation and they pick up the phone and they said, I'm married, or you've spelled my name incorrectly, because that's going to happen no matter what. And they begin to see, well, you know what? We roll our eyes back in our head at her doing this and her making us do the corrections and get it right to send down. And you know what? She's right. They do care.